Okay, Dr. Feelsgood with the song called You Gotta Help Me. This was actually Sonny Williamson song. Special request from my student subscriber Tony Farkas. And I've got these tabbed out for you, Tony. 9.5 pages. And what I did was I subgrouped, because a bunch of it is solo. I subgrouped them for you, so you got 51 subgrouped little blues riffs in here. One of the rhythm parts, because there's 2 guitars at one point, I combined one of the rhythms. I'll explain that as we get to it. So I say we jump right in. Make sure you tune standard. There's your E, A, D, G, B, high E. I have it on my clean channel, believe it or not, but I have the gain turned up, so it's got the bluesy sound. I got some reverb, and I'm using the neck pickup. So section 1, and when you get the tabs, Tony, you'll see what I mean. Everything's explained, all the notations, everything like that. So the first thing you're going to come across, I put S1, that's for section 1, and you're going to go 2nd fret on the G. I would use 2 fingers for this because you're fighting against the nut, which takes a little extra pressure to do the bends. It's just a good habit to get into with bending. You're going to pick the 2nd fret on the G string, bend it a 1/2 step. Remember, that's 1 fret. And then you're going to release it back down and pull it off to an open. So here is subgroup number 1. Some of them are real short subgroups, and that's really the way I want you to attack these. To get them down precisely. So we have slow down. There's your 1/2 step. It's a good idea once in a while to check that. Keep that pitch in your ear. That's what you're bending to. That's the first subgroup. When you do these subgroups, I suggest going over them over and over till you get comfortable, and you'll work on getting the speed built up on these. And the end of that subgroup is just fret hand muting. Lay your fingers softly across the strings. Don't push too hard. Just go up, down. So, okay. Subgroup number 2 is same thing, minus the fret hand muting. Subgroup 3, you're going to see in the tabs I put rake. It's like an arpeggio kind of. You don't want. Let me play it so you can hear it. It goes. Okay, as opposed to going like. You don't want it to sound like this. You're gonna drag that pick and lift your fingers as you go. That'll avoid this. You don't want that. Keep these notes separated. So you'll see that throughout this song where they're doing the rake feel. I love this feel personally. Got a vibrato at the end. That's finger 2, 1, 1, and then finger 3. Down, 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 up as well. Because you want to catch that 5th fret on the B string real quick. So it's down, 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 up. By the way, Tony, this reminds me of Great White, and I don't remember which song. Something about it. Just not sure. Okay, there's a rest there, and then we have 3rd fret. This is still part of the 3rd subgroup. It's pick, bend, release, bend, release, bend, release. Whole step. It should sound like that 5th fret. Okay. Okay. Subgroup number 4. And this is a real common blues riff. Fun one to play. It goes. Okay, watch the fingering on this throughout. In the tabs, you'll see certain spots where I put the fingering. The reason I did is I think it's really essential to try and follow the fingerings for those parts. It's not etched in stone. If you want to change it, not a huge deal. But I wanted to cover all the bases here. So yeah, on that you got your whole step slide, middle finger. You'll see that notated in your tabs. So 3B, and then you're back to 4G, slide into 2, pulling off to open with the middle finger. And then that just repeats. And then you end on 2D. Okay, subgroup number 6 is an easy one. And what you're going to do is open D, and then pick this. You're going to hammer on to the 2nd fret on the D string, string number 4. You're going to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times slowly. And then you would call it a trill, but just a bunch of. You'll see that down in there. And that's kind of a feel thing. It's, you know, I wrote them out, but you don't necessarily have to count them. Okay. And that ends the intro solo. And then here's the rhythm. And I'm going to have to turn the page here in a second, I think. You're going to have... You'll see it down there. Okay, so turn it over here, continue the rhythm. You'll see double dots, you know, all that's notated. It's repeat within. Okay, and there's going to be an alteration of this where I combine 2 guitar parts into one coming up in a second. You can pick and choose how you want to go about it. Actually, I said coming up. It's right here. Now this part you saw me do at the end. You'll see it in the tabs. But or half step again on that 2G, mid release, pull off, 2D, 2D, and that last 2nd fret on the D string is a whole note. That's going to get a 4 count. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now here's where you'll see where I put 2 guitars combined, and here's what that would sound like. Okay, really cool. Combined. Really what's happening is one's doing what you already learned, and the other one's coming in off the. Okay, you can separate them like that. I just figured you'd probably kind of like to have them combined, but now you can pick and choose how you want to go about that. So that is basically section 3. You'll notice towards the end, because we got this consistency of the, and you may want to upstroke that, not critical, but then it'll move to this A minor, back to the opens, which is basically E chord, or E minor. And then up here, that's just a B minor, and then you move that back a whole step, and you'll notice at the end here, right here, and then they do it again, but they changed up the chord to a G, so it'd be, okay, that wraps up page 1 and 2. Page 3, which is section 4, we're into more solo, which is most of the song is solo. So we're gonna have, so you'll see down, up, down. That's telling you that's got to be played quicker is what I meant. You got to rest, and then a pull off to an open, 2D, and then open D, hammer on to 2, and that is also subgroup number 9. Subgroup 10 is this. This part's really cool. It goes. Actually, the whole subgroup, let me play that first. And you'd have. Loving that. I suggest probably the best route on that's going to be third finger on the B. And then you can use the two fingers for that bend release and then pull them off as one when you're playing it. But experiment with the fingers, because what's comfortable for me may not be for you, but I do want to throw those ideas out there. So that's subgroup 10. Subgroup 11 goes like this. Play it slow first. And that's not really played fast in context anyways, but I don't even think it's that fast. It's kind of a fun little riff there. That's riff 11, or subgroup 11. 12 is this. That one's really fun to play. Okay. I notated a couple fingerings in there that are going to be helpful. The trick part, if there is in this one, would be that. Okay. Riff 13 is this. Kind of a longer one. You'll see on there to bar the third fret on the E and B, and then into this part, which this is used a lot throughout the solo. Actually, no, that's it for riffs 13. It's just that. I'm going to notate really quick, Tony. I really would upstroke that barred third fret on string 1 and 2. Okay, riff 14. Not too crazy there. A lot of the D to E hammer-on notes at the end. Okay. Then you're back to section 3. It's notated star equals 4 times. So if you go back to section 3, you'll see that that's the two guitar parts combined, and you'll see a star above it. Because I tried to make this as flowing as possible, Tony. In other words, I wanted you to be able to play along with it and keep the continuity going and have it flow. So the reason you're going to see that section 3 star equals 4 times. Well, the first time you come across it, it says 3 times. The very first time we came to section 3. The reason is we were holding a note out that was going. I should have explained this back then, but as that's ringing, rather than go, it sounds more flowing to let the first one go through and then. Okay, but this time you're doing 4 times on it. Okay, you'll see that. That'll make sense when you see the tab. Okay, that's it for page 3. We go over to page 4, and we're back to the rake feel again. This is riff number 15, and here's what it is. So, all downstrokes. Remember the concept over here earlier when we did that? Kind of that feel. Don't go. Lift as you go. You know, shift those knuckles. Now, you'll see the 15th fret B string, it'll have the bend, but it goes straight for a while, then it bends. That means you're going to hold it for a little bit before you bend in vibrato. Then this part is lick or riff 16. Okay, I almost feel like we need a little more gain to hold these notes out. So that's fairly simple if you're comfortable with your pull-offs. 15 on the B, pulling off to the 12th fret. You do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And then you'll pick the 15th fret, hold it for a sec. And then bend, release, bend, release, bend, release. Okay, that's it for riff 16. Number 17 is this. 3 notes, man. And Tony, I don't know if I mentioned to you, man, when I learned, actually, and I know, you know, a lot of my subscribers are probably watching this too, but the way I learned was taking little subgroups within already subgroups. In other words, you know, instead of taking the whole solo and just trying to breeze through it, break it down into the most feasible, common sense ways to work on them, to go over and over it. So that way you can fine tune it. It's not as overwhelming, all that stuff. And this is a cool little riff here too, taken right out of the E minor pentatonic. So we have, and I did put the fingering there. You can alter it if you want. That is a bend release pull off. 15B, 14G, you do your bend release, and then get that middle finger out of the way and pull off to 12. Then we have some vibrato on it. And then riff 18 is a little bit longer here, quite a bit longer. It's maybe I put a little more attention focused on that 12th fret D and G when you're hammer pulling 14 on the D. It's something Hendrix did a lot, and you want to make sure when that comes down on the 14D that it doesn't mute the G12 that's being barred. You'll lose the whole feel of this part. So get those knuckles at the right angle when you do this. Really cool sounding. Okay, and then riff 19 is a short one, real short one, and an easy one. There it goes. You'll see a 5 in parentheses at the end of riff 19. That just means you got to stop the slide somewhere, and you don't hear where the note particularly stops. So what you're going for is the effect of the slide. There's a difference between that and going, you know what I mean? We don't want that, and we don't want, so it's a good slide. And to stop that, you can just take your hand and stick it over the strings. Okay, when you get around 5th fret, don't worry if you go to the 4th fret or 6th fret. You know, don't beat yourself up over it. That's a long enough slide, and then just rest it. Okay, that part you don't want to overanalyze. Riff number 20 is really cool, and this is looks like kind of a long one. No, I split it into 2, so you'll have a. But actually, I moved into riff 21. Let me try that again. That's riff 20. One more time, slow it down. Okay, gotta add an upstroke in here really quick. I think it's important when you hit 12B to have this upstroke. Okay, riff 21 is this, slow. Lots of those half-step bend, release, pull-offs. And that could be subgrouped even smaller into this. Oops. Okay, that's it for page 4. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Page 5, riff number 22 is very short. 3 notes short, and it sounds like this. All it is. And that's taken out of what's called pattern 2 of the E minor pentatonic. Okay. You want to upstroke that 17th fret for sure. I notated that in your tabs. Riff 23 is not real long either. It goes. It's cool. You'll see the bend, a rest, and then a release. So you hang out on that 17 for a sec. Okay. Then we have section 3, star equals 3 times. That'll make sense, we covered that earlier. Then at 2 minutes 54 seconds, we have section 6 with riff number 24. We're back to the rake feel using the E minor pentatonic. And you've already learned this, and that is this one. Okay. Really work on the feel on that, Tony, to try and get this. Because once you get it and you're comfortable with it, it's going to be cool. It's something you'll probably use a lot if you're just sitting around jamming or whatever. Riff 25, we have another rake feel. But this is over the 12th fret on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string, the E, B, and the G. And that's... Let me play it slow. How's that for a riff? Minus the pull off on the end. So, you know what I mean? You can add a note at a time. That in itself is already a subgroup, but like I said, some of these are longer, some are shorter. You may find a little difficulty there. On the 14th fret G and B, you want to bar those with your 3rd finger. And you also want to bar the 12th fret with your index finger on the G and B, because he's doing a double string pull off using a bar. I'm making it look easy, but if you haven't done those, they're tricky. Then back to 12. I mean, those 4 notes you can subgroup. So we have. And it'll rest, and then you'll see a slide. If you listen close, that slide's in there. Riff 27. That's all that is. Bar the 11th fret, D, G, and B. Slide to the 12th fret. Do that 3 times, and then slide to around the 9th fret. You'll see 9s in parentheses. That's just, once again, telling you approximate for where to stop that slide so you don't go. Okay? You'll get what I'm saying. Riff 28 is this. That's a pretty cool one too. And like I said, take all these slow. You'll see a 1/4 fraction. It's a quarter step bend, which is used a lot in blues. It's real slight. This is just the next little notch you can actually bend and hear, that's it. And a lot of times people can't hear that because we're used to hearing half steps. You'll be alright, you're a blues man. Okay, riff 29. And we're going to have to flip the page to do all of it. Okay, it's now, these can be tricky too. Here's why. You're going to take your 3rd finger, 3rd fret B, and hit the 1st and 2nd string. So the 1st string is going to be open. You're going to slide it a whole step up to 5. Okay, sounds easy, looks easy, right? Just make sure when you're sliding that you don't accidentally move your finger just a tiny bit down and mute out the high E. You want to hear that high E string ringing when you get to the 5th fret on the B. That's kind of the beauty of this type of riff. You know, automatically you think blues, Stevie Ray, all that stuff. And then this one, do it again, but this time take your 1st finger to the 3rd fret, and we're going to hammer onto the 5th fret. So you're hitting the E and B string. So we have good little exercise right there for that style of thing. 2 more of those with the hammers. Actually, no, 1 more of them, and then do it again minus the open high E, so just a single. And then pick 3rd fret B. Notice that, don't even lift that up. If you got to go back to it, no sense in going. Just leave it down. And then we have. Actually, that ends that riff. Actually, it ends here. Here it is, the whole thing. And then riff 30 starts here. So that would be. Riff 31. I think we did this one earlier too. Actually, except he hammers the 2 instead of pick. Last time we picked it. Alright, that's that one. Riff 30, that was 31. Here's 32. That's all that one is. And you'll see a couple different finger options I put down for you on that one. Oh, I'm sorry. This is something else. Something else, but we have. That note's important. That's very cool. A lot of times people stop here. But they went back to this A note. And then riff 33 ends up being a pull-off from what you're playing out of riff 32 to an open, and then 2D, back to the 2G, pull open, 2D, pull open, and then 2D. Riff 34 is the easiest one. It's just 2 of those. And then riff 35, we did something similar to this earlier, but it wasn't as long. It'll be. That's all that one is. Riff 36, we're back into the rake feel here. You'll see a set of double dots there, and it's this one. That was 36 and 37. 36 is. 37 is vibrato and then a rest. Don't let that note keep ringing. And then we have double dots, so that repeats. Riff 38, played slow, is like this. We have. That's probably their tempo, actually. Okay, riff 39. A few routes to go, Tony, on this. You can go and shift the 3rd finger up, or you can go and get that 3rd finger out of the way and drop your middle finger there. That takes you to 3 minutes 31 seconds of the song. And that also takes us to a commercial break. We'll be right back. Just kidding. Alright. Page 7. Riff number 40 is this. Very cool riff. And experiment with fingering on this as well. Same concept as the last riff. You can. Or. Definitely experiment. And then we have riff 41, which is this. Actually, we have a vibrato at the end. And then a pull off to 15. Riff 42 is real short. Okay. Riff 43 is a long one of a bunch of hammer pulls. Pull hammers. 15 and 12 on the B. You're going to start with the 15 and just go like this. If you're worried about you know, the high E ringing, your first finger's probably touching it. But there's a little trick I want to show you that I use a lot. If I know I'm not going to be bothering with the high E, why not use my finger to help mute it? Just a little trick there to remember. And then that little riff 43 will end with a 15th fret whole step bend vibrato. Riff 44 is this. And you know, some of these you're going to go, oh, okay, I kind of did this one earlier. Slow it down. Turn the page over. Page 8. Top of the page we have riff 45. Slowed down. Those two palm mutes are in there. Listen close. They're so easily covered with other things, but they're in there. That's riff 45. There's another one of those two-string pull-offs. When I did that, look where my finger was on the high E, so I don't go. You don't want the high E in there. That finger's keeping that high E string clear for us. And then the two palm mutes. And I'm probably out of tune. Ah, we're good. Riff 46. Or actually it's... Riff 47 pulls off to the open D, 3E, and then this open 2 on the D string hammer pulls with a rest. So, Riff 48.